Coming up in this episode of In Clear Focus.
Scent is fun. Scent is amazing. Scent is what makes us human. And I think in the digital age, especially with AIs that are not human, it is more important now than ever to connect ourselves with our own bodies and other people's actual physical bodies.
You're listening to In Clear Focus, fresh perspectives on marketing and advertising, produced weekly by Big Eye, a strategy-led full-service creative agency growing brands for clients globally. Hello, I'm your host, Adrian Tennant, Big Eye's Chief Strategy Officer. Thank you for joining us. Most marketers invest significant resources into what audiences see and hear, but little, if anything, into what they smell. Of our 5 senses, olfaction is the only one that bypasses rational thought and connects directly to the limbic system, the part of the brain governing memory and emotion. Research suggests we remember approximately 35% of what we smell, compared to just 5% of what we see. Yet scent remains largely absent from most marketing and event design strategies. My guest today is changing that. Tiffany Rose Goodyear is the founder and CEO of Scentex, a Denver-based event services company specializing in custom Scentscaping for corporate events, galas, and brand activations. She holds a master's degree in advertising management from the University of Denver and brings a rare combination of fragrance expertise and strategic marketing experience to her work. Ahead of today's conversation, Tiffany very kindly sent me the same sample kit she sends to prospective clients, and I'll be referencing it as we chat. So, to discuss why scent is both the most powerful and most overlooked sense in the brand marketer's toolkit, the neuroscience behind olfactory memory, and how immersive fragrance strategy can deepen audience connection, I'm delighted that Tiffany is joining us today from Denver, Colorado. Tiffany, welcome to In Clear Focus.
Thank you so much, Adrian. I'm so excited to be here and bring scent into focus.
Well, Tiffany, you have a master's degree in advertising management and spent years working in the ad industry before founding Scentex. What led you from advertising to scent design?
Well, the big step between advertising and Scentex is my foray into a cupcake shop. I refer to myself as a reluctant entrepreneur. I thought the day that I graduated from grad school, I would go work at a big agency in a big city, and I would be living my dream life. And then I had started a cupcake concept in Denver that I kind of used as a petri dish of testing ideas while I was in grad school and business school. And I never meant to have a bakery. It's turned into a bakery. But what I really got to see is how to build a business, but also how to communicate through touch, taste, and smell beyond the advertisers and marketers mostly focus on sight and sound. So I got to really see that putting something in somebody's mouth from a communication point is powerful. And sweets and confections lend themselves to communication more than nutrition. So I just started witnessing it. And then I started scenting things. I started thinking about just scent. So even getting rid of the idea of touch and taste along with that communication aspect. And I was scenting spaces and doing research and came to the conclusion that it was underutilized in both events and marketing and advertising, because that's where my mind always go to is like how to affect an audience. How do you get people to act?
When we were preparing for this interview, you shared with me that when you talk to brand marketers about multisensory strategy, the most common reaction you get is something defensive, as if it were obvious all along. Why do you think such a key aspect of human perception has been so overlooked by the industry?
So I think it's been overlooked not just by the industry, and it's been overlooked by the academic canon since the philosophers that we think of shaping human ethics, like Hume and Kant and Kierkegaard, they also decided that scent wasn't worth talking about. It made us closest to the animals, and animals don't have ethics, so we can do without scent, and they didn't discuss it. And then Freud comes along and invents what we know as the Western base for psychology. And he also says, in not so many words, scent is not important. It doesn't shape who we are. And he would perform on women that had bad cramps. He would take out a part of their nose. He finally killed a woman, so he stopped performing that surgery. And it's reported that he was anosmic in his old age because he did so much cocaine. So academically, they decided that scent wasn't important. We didn't talk about it. We didn't care about it, right? It makes us closer to the animals. Nobody cares. So I think all along, for a long period of time, Western culture decided scent wasn't important. And then you think about architecture and modernity. Everything has to be clean. There's not texture. You're getting rid of texture. You're getting rid of stink. Everything's clean. Everything is structured. And scent isn't like that, right? Scent moves around. It does connect us to our humanity. It does connect us to our bodies, and it does connect us to each other. And we've decided over time that scent wasn't important. So in that sense, of course, advertisers aren't thinking about it. And I think we do such a good job with audiovisual. I mean, look at our digital world, right? Look at what we've created, that it just gets forgotten about. However, we all walk around with noses in the middle of our faces, which is so ironic. And coupled with that, we're not taught to smell either. So it's like all the culmination of all these things is that, like, okay, we're not thinking about scent, we're not using scent. But the second you get somebody to focus for a minute about their favorite scent memories or what they love to smell, it's like their faces light up and they're like, oh yeah, of course we should be considering this. Because it is part of the human experience. It is a part of how we interact with the world and create our realities. But the gap is, okay, if that's the case, how do you execute it as well, right? And I think that is where the scent industry has grown so much. There are a lot more scent marketers than there have ever been, especially in the hospitality industry. You walk into a hotel, there's a scent logo, I would call a lobby scent, and it's associated with the brand. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think it creates a lot of context for our work. But we like to go a step further. In any created environment, scent should be considered.
Well, let's get into the neuroscience. Smell is the only one of our senses where molecules make direct contact with the brain. What does that mean for how we process fragrance? And I guess, why should marketers care?
So the brain has many parts to it. I'm most familiar with the limbic system, which is what is also considered the amphibian brain. It's the oldest part of the brain. It's in the center of the brain. It houses your olfactory, which is where it connects to your olfactory bulbs through sort of like the back of your nose and throat. And it is where emotion and memory are stored. So even in a physical sense, it bypasses the part of your brain where rational thinking and language exist. So I think, as explained, we're not thinking about scent as a culture. We're not taught how to smell. And when we're in the act of smelling, it bypasses, I would say, the most important part of our brains in our current time and culture. We're using our new brains, not our amphibian brains, all the time, every day, talking through this podcast. And the emotion and memory part of it, it's ingrained in us, but we're not thinking about it all the time. And it's hard to describe. It bypasses language. So I think the reason that it's overlooked from a neuroscience perspective, again, is it's even difficult to talk about. It's difficult to talk about fragrance. We don't have a lot of fragrance words in our culture. In fact, most languages are limited in how to even describe fragrance. So it's overlooked from a perspective of ease and budget.
Well, because we don't have a rich vocabulary for describing scent the way we do, say, for color or sound, how do you think that linguistic gap affects the way brands and event planners think about smell as a design element?
I mean, I think they're not thinking about it. But when they do, it's such a beautiful thing. And I think all of our work in communication leads to storytelling in some sense. That's how we connect to each other. It's how we connect to our own memories, is to tell ourselves a story. And I think when you think about storytelling and a narrative and a physical experience, it is about the five senses. So we all know sort of intuitively that it exists, and we can say we have five senses. This is how we experience the world, and how to tell the full story is just to give it consideration. Because I think people can relate to their scent memories. Once they tap in, they can see the story. And once you get people talking about it, they can say, okay, this is the brand story. What would it smell like? What time of year is it? What season is it? What time of day is it? Or color, what color is it? What does that color smell like? And when you start relating it to your other senses, that story can come alive. It's just about sort of using your imagination in a way, which is awesome and easy. And then the second piece of that is obviously implementation. But once you start smelling things and paying attention, I think most of my clients and a lot of the people that I have the opportunity to speak to, I get the feedback that I think about it now. I think about how to incorporate it. Oh, I used your idea for this and this was the effect. Oh, for scent, this happened. So I think the first step is to think about it and then to use our creative brains to tell a story, and then the opportunities present themselves.
Tiffany, when a new client or prospect comes to Scentex, you begin by sending them samples. And I have the package you sent me right here. And I notice they're coded by number rather than by name or a fragrance family. So what's the reasoning behind that?
Well, so to close the loop on our earlier conversation, we have a lot of scent bias. We have a lot of biases anyway. But when people that don't think about scent and don't talk about scent and are immersed in scent see a scent word, they're off on a memory that they had, whether they like it or they don't like it, and an experience that they had with it, they're no longer smelling. So to your point, all of our internal branding, everything we do, we try to lead them into an actual in-your-face smelling experience without leading them down a path with a color or a word that suggests that something's in there. As you mentioned, when you start to work with us and we get a little bit further down the path of what the story is you're trying to tell, we send scent samples in a way that you don't know what you're smelling until you open them. Would you like to open one?
I would love to open one.
So what we're smelling is our fragrance sample example. It's not based on any particular event or branding, but it is an opportunity to give people that are curious about how we do business a way to touch, feel, and see our work. So typically we send these in numerical order. This particular fragrance composition will start best if we smell 1302. And inside is a paper blotter. We've all seen these at the department store.
Here's mine.
Perfect. And we'll smell. One thing that makes our scent sampling, I think, different than any other company that I've received samples from is we leave also room to take notes inside of the package, because even though scent is stored in the same part of your brain as your memory, we all have short attention span. So always good to take notes on what you smelled, what you like about it, what it sparks in your brain, what it makes you think about. All of the words that should come out of this should be your words. So what are your thoughts on this one, Adrian?
Something maybe citrusy and potentially even a little bit leathery.
Is there a memory that you would like, or a space that you've been in that would smell something like this?
Now, you've talked about hotels and hospitality spaces. It reminds me of elevated experiences.
Love that. Well, let's move on to 1407. It would be the next in this series.
There's still some sweetness. There's a barky undertone.
There is with this one. It's very interesting how that comes through over time. Okay, the next one is going to be 1202, and this is going to give you the clue as to what these fragrances have in common. And if it doesn't, you're still doing it perfectly right.
I am getting a strong cinnamon.
Yes. So this leads into a gourmand. When we talk about this type of fragrance, it's things you have in your spice cabinet. Also, what makes up every fragrance are top notes, middle notes, and base notes, just like music. So the first ones we smelled are a little bit more top note heavy than this one. And you can smell that in sort of the weight. I mean, it's a molecular weight and size that makes the difference between a top note and a middle note and a base note. And if you wear any fragrance on your skin, at the end of a day, the base note is all that is still smellable because the top notes and the middle notes will have dissipated. They're the most sort of heady. It's what you smell first in any fragrance. And then it wears to the middle note. And then the deep base notes really ground a fragrance. And if you wear any fragrance on your skin, at the end of a day, the base note is all that is still smellable because the top notes and the middle notes will have dissipated. All right, number 4 for 4.
This is very sophisticated and a complex smell. There's many things going on here, but all of it is pleasant.
It's a little sparkly. I would describe this one as it has a little sparkle to it and coolness almost.
It's not peppermint, but it is cool.
It is cool. And it's not eucalyptus, but it could be.
Eucalyptus adjacent.
So what we've just done together is we've walked through 4 seasons in fragrance. We started in spring, which was 1302, which was a little floral, which you did say citrus. It's not an overbearing floral. We moved into summer.
Yeah.
And then fall was the gourmand cinnamony.
Yeah.
And what we're smelling that is eucalyptus adjacent is actually pine. So thinking about winter and holiday and so we just experienced a year together through fragrance.
Let's take a short break. We'll be right back after this message.
Hello, I'm Katie Hart, author of Neuromarketing, Practical Insights for Improving Customer Engagement, published by Kogan Page. I've spent more than 15 years bringing neuroscience and psychology into marketing practice. In my book, I translate academic neuroscience into clear, actionable tools covering attention, emotion, memory, and decision-making, alongside practical chapters on how each of the senses can be used to strengthen brand recall and shape consumer choice. You'll learn how to apply evidence-based techniques that improve engagement, optimize creative, and elevate your professional impact, drawing on original research I've conducted with leading brands. You can save 25% on neuromarketing when you order directly from koganpage.com. Just enter the exclusive promo code BIGI25 at checkout. Shipping is always complimentary for customers in the US and the UK. I hope my book helps you build campaigns grounded in how people actually think, feel, and decide. Thank you.
Welcome back. I'm talking with Tiffany Rose Goodyear, founder and CEO of Scentex, about why scent may be the most underleveraged tool in the brand marketer's toolkit, and what it actually takes to bring a Scentscape to life. There are other companies offering ambient scent services, but Scentex comes from the event world rather than the perfume industry. Tiffany, why does that distinction matter for how you execute a Scentscape?
So I focus on dynamic experiences as opposed to static experiences. And because there are so many great companies that will scent a hotel lobby or an apartment lobby, I think about that as an amazing experience. They're not changing the lighting. They're not changing the decor unless they're doing a huge renovation. So in the event and experiential marketing agency, it is a live one-time only event. And with that, the location often changes, the lighting changes, the decor changes, the building changes. And so we believe that the scent should also change and be in consideration of that. The other thing too is that we offer gifting associated with an event. So we just did an event for LinkedIn, and we do a lot of work for tech companies. And I think what's great about that is they're looking for things for their both clients and their internal staff that expands their mind. That's a different new experience instead of another piece of tech. So giving people an opportunity to smell, that's what we get to do at these events, whether it's 100,000 people in a huge convention center or a really intimate interactive station. Inviting people to use their noses is creating that in real-time experience that is what an event is. And it does read a little bit different than, again, like the scent in a lobby. And so that is what makes us different. And I think coupled with the background of having a dessert catering company and really understanding events, with my advertising and marketing, I come from a perspective of execution live at an event, which can be difficult to execute, but not impossible. And again, the continuation of that guest experience. So if you're scenting an event a certain way and you want your guests to remember that experience, and that's part of what having an event is making sure that it made an impact, and then them being able to take the fragrance home in a reed diffuser and re-experience it. And I think we have great real estate as far as a tchotchke goes. We give a lot of branded items away. Please, I could never have another water bottle gifted to me for the rest of my life. And I don't have water bottles, for example. Like, that's not an exciting, intimate human experience. But taking the event and what it smells like and being able to put that branded scent in people's homes, in their powder rooms, on their desks. That is like the real value and advantage of using fragrance. And then if somebody else smells it and asks about it, well, what are they doing? They're talking about your event. They're talking about your brand. And that is so powerful. I mean, again, it's underutilized, but as we're discussing, it makes sense, right? Like pun intended, like using scent makes sense. And it does to most people once they start thinking about it.
When listeners hear scent design, they may be imagining a small reed diffuser on a reception table. How do you manage a large-scale scentscape, such as a 100,000 square foot event space?
With a magic wand and a prayer. We use commercial equipment and all of our events are staffed. So we use commercial equipment, commercial grade fragrance oil. So there's no additives or anything like that. These aren't things that you can buy on Amazon. They have a big reach. And then part of the work that we do is working within that space to the best of our abilities. And then the magic truly does happen live at the event because there are so many things that can change the way airflow happens in a large event, depending on how the guests are moving, what doors are open, the temperature inside of the room, the temperature outside of the room. So it truly is an art that happens in real time. So we overcome that by using powerful machines, and we have staff that is trained. So we'll make real-time decisions and move things around if we have to so that the air flows in the direction of the guest in a perfectly managed way. There is such thing as too much scent. Scent sensitivities are real. Anybody would have a scent sensitivity to standing in front of a commercial diffuser and huffing deep breaths. You're going to feel a certain way. Just like standing next to a speaker that's too loud or staring into an uplight, right? We all have a level of scent sensitivity. But part of the reason that we love to be on site coordinating this is if you put a piece of our equipment in front of a vent that is sucking up air, you will have wasted your entire scent budget to the clouds that day. So again, it's making sure that you understand the airflow inside a room in real time. And that's how we're able to do it in small spaces and large spaces.
Well, when we were preparing for this interview, you explained to me that a brand's visual palette, especially its colors, can actually inform its fragrance direction. How do you apply that approach when working with a corporate client?
Well, I think about when I was back in the day, many years ago, when I was in grad school, and even thinking about like colors people choose for logos, right? Like green, we see green, we think health. We think earthy, we think green, earthy, health, organic. Those are colloquially things that we've associated with green, and rightly so. If you look at our green and blue planet, green is where things are living. Blue's aquatic, right? So blue is the ocean. Blue is a lot of tech companies, ironically. So thinking about like color theory, yellows, citrus, oranges, these ideas exist in nature. And I think that's where we get a lot of it. Woodsy. So you think woodsies are dark, they're heavy browns, earthy, right? So I think that scent and color theory can go together. And it's a good place to start in thinking about scent design and what brands are going to be. If anybody listening to this takes a moment and think about like what they wear, what perfume they wear, like what is it about that perfume? Like what colors do you get out of it just by smelling it? Florals, we think about like pinks and purples. And I don't like to gender volatile molecules, but our society likes to gender everything. So in thinking about it, like they're in that context, there are more masculine and more feminine, scents. So I think taking those things that we already know about scent, we just haven't given it enough time. That's how we start our work, right? We work with a tech client that their conference is called Rising, right? So it's branded and it's rising. So we really try to think about what does that mean? The sun rising, right? So thinking about a fragrance that is uplifting and bright and makes us feel like a beautiful sunrise. Well, that's going to lean into more top notes. It's going to lean into more citrus. It's going to I think about orange juice, right? Orange juice and mimosas. Those are bright, invigorating colors and experiences that also lean into the idea of rising. In thinking about Appfolio, which is a client of ours, their logo is blue. They are a tech company that caters to rental companies. A lot of the people listening to this, I'm one of them, pay their rent through Appfolio. So for them, it's thinking about home, right? Even though they have this like blue logo, It's about like home space. So when we do work with them for their apartment building clients or for their conventions for people that own and sell apartment buildings, it's about what does home feel like? Well, it feels warm, right? It feels familiar. So thinking about scent in terms of where the end user already is going with what you're already giving them as far as brand design and just taking it that one step further into our olfactory.
For a brand marketer listening who wants to bring scent strategy into their next event, where do they start?
Well, I would invite anybody that really just wants to start by using your nose. Smell a little bit more. Smell the room that you walk into. Smell your room right now. The next place you go to, just take a deep breath out and then smell through your nose. I would say start thinking about scent in your life would be the very, very first step. And I always invite people to do that. And I do believe after people listen to me, they do think about scent a little bit more. The next step would be thinking about the spaces that you're creating where you could actually implement scent. And of course, we would love for you to call us and we'd love to consult with you on it. And thinking about smaller places too, there are smaller apparatus that people can buy. I always recommend planners to do something with the bathroom. At the very least, it's a small enclosed space. It's a nice area to sort of experiment with scent and see what happens, right? It's like very low risk. And then in thinking about like, if you're working for a big company with a huge budget that you're adding this other entire sensory receptor to this entire program, I think you have to do it strategically, right? And then there should be some sort of ROI on thinking about why to do this. The research is there. And then once you start smelling and thinking about it and perhaps implementing it into smaller spaces, then give us a call once you find budget. Just half kidding.
Thinking about the future of Scentex, what are you most excited about?
It is my life's work to get scent on the event checklist. So whether that's a product launch, a client event, a convention, a wedding, a baby shower, just again, thinking about that as another tool in your toolbox to affect an experience, a branded experience, a home experience, and just to get people talking about scent more. Scent is fun. Scent is amazing. Scent is what makes us human. And I think in the digital age, especially with AIs that are not human, it is more important now than ever to connect ourselves with our own bodies and other people's actual physical bodies. Smell people. Smell each other. Like that sounds crazy, but that's how we find our lovers and our best friends. There's a theory I read that you'll never be best friends with somebody whose smell you don't like. On a very like subconscious level, you cannot spend time with people that their smell is off to you. We've all walked into homes. Maybe we thought we liked these people, but if something is off smell-wise, we don't want to spend time there. So I think just smelling and using our noses, and I hope somebody that's listening now is having that aha moment. I mean, that would be the goal.
Great conversation. Tiffany, for In Clear Focus listeners who'd like to learn more about Scentex or who are curious about receiving the same sample kit you sent me, what's the best way to get in touch?
I believe it would be to slide into our DMs on Instagram. It's Scentex Events. That is just a way for us to connect in a very easy method. You can also go to our website. It's www.scent-ex.com. There's a contact us form. If you let us know that you heard me on this podcast, we will ask for your address and we will get these samples shipped out to you. And we would love your feedback on going through our scent exercise. And we'd love to answer any questions that you have too. It really is a whole new world. And with everything we've talked about, the difficulty to describe it, the fact that like academically, we're not taught how to smell, we're not taught how to talk about it. I would just say, get curious, ask questions, and we're here for you.
Tiffany, thank you so much for being our guest this week on In Clear Focus.
Such a pleasure. Thank you, Adrian.
Thanks again to my guest this week, Tiffany Rose Goodyear, founder and CEO of Scentex. As always, you'll find a complete transcript of our conversation with timestamps and links to the resources we discussed on the In Clear Focus page at bigeyeagency.com. Thank you for listening to In Clear Focus, produced by Big Eye. I've been your host, Adrian Tennant. Until next week, goodbye.